Live. Welcome to the Dead Zone, and welcome to Breece Hall Week. It's here. It's here. Waited a month. It is here. It's time for Breece Hall to be unleashed. I'm excited. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting a year. A year. It was right around this time. I think it was week 6 last year that Breece Hall against the Broncos tore his ACL. I was just watching a clip of an interview from Breece Hall this week. That's why we're about 9 minutes late to get on the show, because I was trying to upload it to StreamYard so that I could post it at the beginning of this show. Wasn't working. It wasn't cooperating. Whatever. Little mini interview with Breece Hall this week at practice from a reporter asking about, does he do anything different before a game in Denver with the altitude? Breece Hall just looks at the reporter and says, I don't need to do anything different. I played in the altitude last year. It made me faster. It made me better. I think it was faster in the altitude. I'm just like, let's go. Let's go. We're going to get a faster version of Breece Hall and a full workload against a ghost defense. One of the worst defenses in the history of the NFL is the Denver Broncos right now. Ever. And this is the game. This is the game that Robert Saleh said, I think it's time to unleash the beast. Unleash the beast. We call him Breece Hall. They call him the beast. It's time. It's time. But what we're going to do tonight, same thing as last week. We're going to kind of just work through the running back rankings. We'll go about the top 20. We'll talk top 20 running backs. And then we'll do the same thing for the wide receivers. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through tiers. We'll go through like the elite tiers. And then we'll kind of work the way down. I think we got 5 different tiers across the top 20 running backs. And then, like I said, we'll do the same thing with the wide receivers. In between, we'll talk, we'll answer your start-sit questions. Start dropping them in the comments. In between, ranking players and talking about each running back, I'll answer your questions. And I'll be using my rankings at yardsperfantasy.com to help you answer those. So let's kind of pull up the running backs. We'll share my screen here a little bit. And we'll start working through those running back rankings. And you know the way I started the show talking about Breece Hall, he's going to be right up there. He's going to be right up there. So I'm excited. This is the first week I've felt confident in starting Breece Hall. Because, going into week 1, it was just like, we don't know how they're going to play him. We don't know how they're going to play him with the ACL injury coming off the ACL. They got Dalvin Cook. So it's like, all right, we know it's going to be a slow ramp up. And then week 2, it's like, okay, Breece Hall looks fantastic, look explosive, only had a handful of carries. But now he's going to play with Zach Wilson. Now he's going to play with that guy. What the hell? So, and that's kind of how we felt. Week 2, week 3, week 4. He's an absolute full-blown backfield committee and with an absolute joke of a quarterback. But now we saw Zach Wilson play well last week. Again, now we get a terrible defense, and now we get the training wheels are off on Breece Hall. No more snap count. All right, so I'm sharing my screen here. We're going to do these running back rankings. Let me know if you guys can't see this. I actually can't see it. Oh, there we go. I'm going to change this so you can see me a little bit better. All right. Can't take this beautiful face off the screen. All right, let's get into these running back rankings. So Last week it was pretty simple. We had one guy at the top tier, that S tier, the stud tier is what I like to call it, and that is reserved for one guy. His name is Christian McCaffrey. So we're going to move Christian McCaffrey into the stud tier here. That's pretty simple. We know what Christian McCaffrey is. We know the role. We know the offense. We know his talent. That's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. So where do we go after that? I think we go Breece. Bijan Robinson. I think we go Bijan. And he is going to be in the second tier. Christian McCaffrey's all by himself because Bijan Robinson has, that complete skill set. He's an explosive runner. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. But the offense in Atlanta is just hit or miss. It's hit or miss, and it's mostly miss. And you would think an offense that is fully committed to the run game and just forgets about its receiving weapons, that Bijan Robinson would be even better than he is. The offense is just so bad. It's so bad that even Bijan Robinson can't quite get to that Christian McCaffrey tier yet, but it's close. He's getting close. Damn good running back. And I think in that same tier, we got Tony Pollard. See if we can find Tony Pollard in this list of running backs here. Shouldn't be too far down, I don't think. This is the fun part of this show, is watching me just awkwardly search for these running backs in this gigantic list of players. Here we go. Tony Pollard. Move him into here. So there's a little smoother way of doing this, but it is what it is. So we got Tony Pollard as RB3 for this week. Tough matchup. It is a tough matchup going against San Francisco, but that should be a fun game. Fun game on Sunday night. Should be a lot of points scored, I think. That could go either way, really. They're two good offenses, but they're also two really good defenses. So this could be a 30-27 game. It could be a 13-10 game. It could really go either way. As someone who plays fantasy football, like the rest of you, I'm hoping for the comes out on the higher end of the points. But we'll see what happens there. Tony Pollard is the RB3. Then we get to DeAndre Swift as the RB4. And I really went back and forth. Do I want to put Breece Hall as the RB4? DeAndre Swift's been playing so well. He's in a great offense. He's got a great role. It's been great. And he's going against a not great defense. I think the Rams have exceeded expectations on the defensive side of the ball. Absolutely. But it's still a pretty good matchup. Obviously, it's not the Broncos, which Breece Hall gets, but it's still a pretty good matchup for DeAndre Swift. Then we get to the Breece. We get to the beast named Breece. And we're going to put him in that same tier. This is the first time, like I said, I feel really, really good about playing Breece Hall. How can you not? That Broncos defense, that's the defense that, don't forget, 2 weeks ago, the Dolphins put up 70 points against that defense. And then the Bears put up, 30 points against them? Something like that. 28. The Bears offense, the Broncos defense is so bad that the Bears offense was able to fix itself against that defense. And after watching those first 3 weeks, it didn't look like the Bears offense had any hope. And then they go and play the Broncos, and suddenly they're fixed. They fixed Justin Fields. They fixed DJ Moore. They fixed the offensive line. Even Khalil Herbert was looking good until he hurt himself. So we got some comments coming in here from some of our guys from Yards for Fantasy, big contributors to our YouTube channel. Steven just got off a great show with Ryan. Those guys do a fantastic job. And so does Brett. Part of the coach approach. Him and Coach Bruce every Wednesday. They usually go Sunday mornings. Not going to be able to do it this week, but they do a great show every week as well. And then we got Robert in the chat here. He's asking, should we trade Roshan Johnson to get Miles Sanders? Yeah, I would absolutely do that. I would do that. Even though it looks like Miles Sanders, there's a chance that Miles Sanders might lose his job here very soon. And he's a little banged up. He's a little injured. Not playing that great. Chuba Hubbard is outplaying him right now. I do think eventually Roshan is going to end up as the RB1, but it's going to be later than we wanted, unless that Khalil Herbert ankle injury ends up being a little bit more than we want it to be. I mean, if he misses any time really, and it opens up the door to Roshan. Roshan had the concussion, but the 10 days in between games, I think, should be able to get him back for next week. And if Khalil Herbert's ankle injury opens the door for Roshan Johnson, there might be no going back to Khalil Herbert. So maybe that's not as smash of a trade. I would watch the Khalil Herbert ankle injury news and Miles Sanders his own injury news. But right now, Miles Sanders is still the RB1 in Carolina. He's had a good role up till last week, but we could probably blame his role from last week. With him coming off some injuries, he's got a groin, he's got some other stuff going on. So I'd like to see Miles Sanders for another week. But Kenneth comes in here and he says Herbert has a high ankle sprain. I haven't seen that officially reported. And if I have, it just kind of blended in with the rest of the news for me. And I forgot or missed it. And if that's true, if it's a high ankle sprain, then I'm keeping Roshan. I'm absolutely keeping Roshan. Because Roshan has the complete skill set. He has the complete skill set. He's explosive. He's good out of the backfield. They trust him in pass protection. He's been up until week 4, Roshan Johnson's snap share had been climbing every single week. He was up to 45%. I was like, this is it. This is it. Week 4, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then he comes out and his snap share just gets crushed. And Khalil Herbert carries the ball 18 times against the Broncos. Like, what the hell? And then it kind of looked like it was pretty much going to be the same touch distribution out of that backfield in week 5 on Thursday night until they both ended up leaving with injuries. If it is a high ankle sprain, then Khalil Herbert's going to miss multiple weeks. And then when he comes back, he's probably not going to be 100% anyway. He's not going to be. We see every single year, we see these guys with these high ankle sprains. They miss multiple games. And then they come back after a few weeks, but they don't look the same. They don't look the same for another 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks until they're finally healthy and looking explosive and able to cut on that ankle the way we need them to be able to. So yeah, if that's true, breaking news from Kenneth, it's a high ankle sprain. If that's true, then I'm keeping Roshan over Miles Sanders because I think he's going to take over that backfield. All right. We'll get to a couple more questions in a minute. Let's get through the next tier of these running back rankings real quick. So we got our top 5. We got McCaffrey in his own tier, and then it's Bijan, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall. And then with the news today that Jahmyr Gibbs hurt his hamstring yesterday at practice, and now Gibbs is doubtful, which means he's not going to play. There's no way Gibbs is playing. That, for me, catapulted David Montgomery up the rankings. I think I already had him as a borderline RB1 anyway. I mean, he was fantastic last week. I was screaming. I was telling you to draft him all year in the 7th round. I hope you listened. And now I think with no Gibbs at all, I think we moved Dave Montgomery up to the RB6. I'm playing him ahead of Josh Jacobs. I'm playing him ahead of Derrick Henry. I think I'm playing him ahead of Travis Etienne. So we're going to find Dave Montgomery in this list of running backs here. Let me know if you see him before I do, because I really struggle with this part of the show. I don't know what's wrong with me. Too many guys. They just all blend in. Here's Dave Montgomery. He's still a Bear. Still got his Bears jersey on. Sure, he's glad to get out of there. I think we'll go here. No, if we're going to do top 20, we could have put him up here because we don't have enough tiers to get through the top 20. All right. So Breece Hall. Sorry. I got Breece Hall in mind. It's Breece Hall week. Can't blame me. It's Dave Montgomery at the RB6. At RB7, we're going to go Josh Jacobs. He's got a little bit of a tough matchup this week against the Packers. Packers defense has been pretty good. Jacobs hasn't been good. The Raiders offense hasn't been good, but I think it's only good news that Garoppolo is going to play. And I know Jacobs had a bigger role last week with no Garoppolo, but just the efficiency of the offense. You know, we want a running back in a more efficient offense. Not that Garoppolo is really leading a very efficient offense, but it's better than an Aiden O'Connell offense, that's for sure. Coming in at RB8 is Derrick Henry. He's going against the Colts. So game script could go either way. I think it'll be a close game. So we don't have to worry too much, I think, about it being a Tajay Spears week. But we've seen through the first month of the season, when the Titans have negative game script, they're playing Tajay Spears in that backfield. And that's why I've been talking for the last 2 weeks to sell Derrick Henry. And of course, I make a video about selling Derrick Henry before week 4, and he has his best week of the season. That's just how it works. That happens all the time. So, but I still believe he's a sell. Last week, he was a sell low, coming off an 11 carry, 20-yard game. This week is a sell high. So I'm still selling Derrick Henry. But right now, I have him ranked as the RB8 for week 5. Then we get Travis Etienne. Remember, Jaguars play on Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. in London against the Bills. I'm going Travis Etienne. He hasn't been giving us the production for fantasy football that we really need him to, but the role is there. He's a full-blown bell cow. I think that offense has just been struggling a little bit to get going. I think they will. And Travis Etienne is the type of running back who can just break off big chunk plays at any time. He's the guy who he can break off a 50-yard touchdown at any moment. So I think we got to keep starting Travis Etienne as a top 10 running back. I cannot find him on this list. Where is Travis Etienne? Oh boy, this is great content. Great content. I'm just watching me struggle. Here he is, right here in the middle. All right, so let's do one more running back in this tier. We might start a new tier, actually. I think we got one more running back in this tier, and that's going to be Devon Achane. Devon Achane, we victory lapped him a couple weeks ago. We called that one before he even went off. And he's had 2 really good weeks, but he's still splitting the backfield evenly with Raheem Mostert. I don't expect that to go away. And Raheem Mostert's been, I've seen a lot of people talking about selling Raheem Mostert this week because his snap shares and everything have gone down. And that's absolutely true. But while everybody else is selling him, I'm telling you, I'm buying him. I'm going out and buying. If you guys are selling Raheem Mostert kind of low right now, I'm going to buy Raheem Mostert because I know Devon Achane is taking over this backfield, but it's going to continue to be a split. It's going to be 50-50, 60-40 at worst in favor of Devon Achane. And I think that's still a fine role for Raheem Mostert. He's still explosive. He's still fast. He can still rip it off from anywhere on the field, just like Achane. These guys are 2 of the fastest. They might be the 2 fastest running backs in the entire NFL. I want a piece of this offense. I don't care if it's the 1B in the backfield. I want pieces of this offense. So while everybody else is telling you to sell Raheem Mostert this week, I am buying. Give me Raheem Mostert. Give me Raheem Mostert. I can buy him for a wide receiver 2, probably a wide receiver 3. Give that to me. I want pieces of this Dolphins offense. We know what they can do. Obviously, they're not scoring 70 points every week, but they can go off at any time. That's going to include Raheem Mostert. He's going to score touchdowns. He's going to catch passes. He's going to break off long runs. I don't care if he's losing touches to Devon Achane. Achane. I want Raheem Mostert. I just want him. Let's get back to some questions. Calm me down a little bit. Where did we leave off? Kenneth was breaking news for us. Coco, the same question. You don't think I watched the show? You don't think I watched the show before this, Coco? I had to tune into Steven and Ryan. These guys do a great job. You don't think I saw you trolling them with this question? Actually, I think it was different. It was different. It was somebody else for Mason Rudolph. I believe it was somebody else now that I think of it. Either way. Fantastic question. Fantastic question, Coco. I've seen you on multiple shows with us, so I absolutely appreciate you tuning in to all of our shows, my shows, Stephen and Ryan's shows, Coach Bruce and Brett's shows. So I really appreciate you and interacting in the chat. So despite the wild trolling questions, we'll take it. We need one of those in the chat once in a while, right? All right. Let's get to the serious stuff. This big question here from Richard. Full PPR. Can only keep 3 running backs. I need to drop one now that Taylor is back. So who do I drop? So you're activating Jonathan Taylor off your IR. That's fantastic. This is absolutely best case scenario for anybody who took the chance and drafted Jonathan Taylor, put him on your IR spot, and was just hoping that things worked out, that he played it all. This is the best case scenario. He is back as early as he possibly could be back in week 5. Sounds like he's healthy. He's been practicing. He just signed a contract extension, 3-year deal. He's one of the top 5 highest paid running backs in the NFL. He's happy. He's playing alongside a Konami code quarterback like Anthony Richardson, where the linebackers, they have to worry about him running as well as Jonathan Taylor running. And you know that opens up running lanes even wider for a guy like Jonathan Taylor. The Colts offense has been playing. I mean, the Colts offensive line has been exceeding expectations. They've been playing pretty well. We're excited about Jonathan Taylor. So, huge tangent there. We're excited about Jonathan Taylor. He is going to be on a little bit of a snap count, supposedly, but he's still a top 20 running back. We'll get to him as we get through these running back rankings. We got to speed up the pace of this show. We're going to be here forever. Let's get to this question. Can only keep 3 running backs. Who do I drop? James Cook, Dave Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, or Jonathan Taylor? What the hell kind of league are you playing in, Richard? What the hell kind of league are you playing in? You have to drop one of these running backs? That's insane. I'd like a little bit more insight on the rules of this league. How many people are in this league? Whew. This is a loaded running back room. Can you trade? Can you trade somebody? Maybe upgrade? Package 2 of these guys together and upgrade? Or package one of them with a wide receiver and upgrade? I know it's, your kickoff is coming in about a little over 12 hours here, but damn. Hate to drop one of these guys, even in a teeny tiny league. I guess we're dropping James Cook. I'm dropping James Cook. He has the least consistent role of all these guys, I guess. I guess that's who it would be, but obviously in a normal league, you're not even considering dropping a James Cook, but I don't know what the hell kind of settings this is, but that's who I would drop, and I think it's a pretty easy decision for me too. Do you value Miles Sanders or Alexander Madison more? Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. Um, if it had asked me a week or two ago, I would have said Miles Sanders. I think I'm just gonna say Alexander Madison. He's been playing well the last couple of weeks. He's struggled. He had a couple tough matchups, and then maybe they brought in Cam Akers, and it was like the Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers effect. Aaron Rodgers, his play was declining year over year, like in his career, and then they draft Jordan Love, pisses him off, motivates the shit out of him, and all of a sudden he's an MVP for back-to-back years. Maybe that's what's happening with Alexander Madison. He's Alexander Madison is Aaron Rodgers, apparently. Cam Akers is Jordan Love. I don't know. I don't know. Right now, in this moment, I think I would take Alexander Madison. Give me the guy in the better offense who's still going to have at least a 50% opportunity share in that backfield. I'll take that. I'll take that because I think Miles Sanders is his role is leaking. It's leaking a little bit. A little bit. Chuba Hubbard might be better than Miles Sanders. I said it in the summer. I said it on one of our personalized podcast episodes, and the rest of the guys on the show just feel like, shut the hell up. What are you talking about? I might have been right. I think I am right. So I'm saying Madison. All right, let's get to this next tier running backs. Then we'll get to some more questions. All right. So we ended up at A-Chain. That was the top 10 running backs. And then that brings us to Raheem Mostert, who we just talked about. So we don't really need to talk about him again. So I got Achane and Mostert back to back. I still want Raheem Mostert. He's still going to have a good role. He's still in the best offense in the NFL, who utilizes their running backs as good as anybody. I want Raheem Mostert. I'm going to start him. I'm going to trade for him. I'm going to have to make a video about him next week to say, go buy him. I wish I had done that this week. Here it is. Go buy Raheem Mostert. Please, I'm begging you. If everybody else is selling low, I'm buying. So we're going to get Joe Mixon as the next running back in this B tier here. Going against the Cardinals, that offense is really struggling, man. It's really struggling. But apparently Joe Burrow had some full practice sessions this week, which tells me that the calf can't be that bad right now. It can't be that bad if he's practicing in full. So I'm hopeful. Eventually, I still believe eventually the offense is going to turn around. Aaron Jones has not been doing real well. That offense has not been great the last couple of weeks. But he's got a pretty good matchup against the Raiders on Monday night. I'm going to go out Aaron Jones here. Then we're going to go Alvin Kamara after that. I think we need to move Jones here, though, in the C tier. We're going to put Mostert and Mixon by themselves. And we're going to go in the C tier. We're going to go Aaron Jones, Alvin Kamara. 2 more running backs, and then we'll get to your questions. Next up, I'm going to do Isaiah Pacheco. He is the guy I said I wish I just said I wish I had made a video this week to say to trade and buy low on Raheem Mostert. Well, I did make a video about buying high on Isaiah Pacheco. Because if you look at his schedule, oh baby, have you guys seen the Chiefs schedule coming up over the next 4 or 5 weeks? They play, I'm going to try to do it off the top of my head. Obviously they play the Vikings this week. That game's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. Vikings defense isn't that great. So that's a good matchup. At home, on the road, in a dome. Isaiah Pacheco runs mad against the grass. I'm sure he can run mad against the turf as well. So they get the Vikings this week. And then next week, they play the Broncos. All right. We just talked about how much we loved Breece Hall being unleashed against the Broncos team. We've seen how bad this Broncos offense is. Khalil Herbert got right against them. We saw what Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert did against them. I expect Breece Hall is going to rip them up this week, and I expect Isaiah Pacheco is going to rip them up next week. After that, it's the Chargers. After that, it's the Broncos again. So they play the Broncos 2 out of 3 weeks. And then they play the Dolphins. That's going to be another high-scoring shootout game. Lots of opportunities for red zone touches, goal line carries for Isaiah Pacheco. So he's a guy I'm absolutely targeting in trade right now. All right, let's get to a couple more questions, and we'll wrap up the top 20 running backs, and we'll move on to wide receivers. All right, what do we got? What do we got? We got full PPR. We need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players to choose from. All right, let's start with the running backs. So if Saquon Barkley plays, we're playing him. Obviously, no brainer. Saquon's playing. I don't think he's going to play. I don't expect him to play. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't expect him. So let's toss Saquon Barkley out for now. Assume he's not going to play. If he's playing, you're playing him. So then we're going to obviously go Breece Hall. He's a top 5 running back this week. And we're going to go Devon Achane. He's a top 10 running back this week. So easy at running back. Hall, Achane. Wide receiver, we need 2 wide receivers as well. So we're going to go CeeDee Lamb. And then I think we're going to play Michael Pittman ahead of Jalen Waddle. And then we need 1 guy in the flex. So that for me, it comes down to Kyren Williams or Jalen Waddle. And I believe this was a question that came up on Stephen and Ryan's show right before mine. Waddle or Kyren Williams, who to start? They both said Jalen Waddle. It was kind of a no-brainer for them. For me, I'm disagreeing. I'm going to disagree with them. I'm going to go Kyren Williams, even though Kyren Williams is just a guy and Jalen Waddle is a superior talent. If you just put these guys up, put them on a talent scale, Jalen Waddle is going to be through the roof. Jalen Waddle is looking down at Kyren Williams on a talent scale. Just put them head to head on talent. No question about that, right? But the usage, the touchdown luck has really been in Kyren Williams' favor, and I know that's going to run out at some point. And I think his role is going to be pulled back at some point. But right now, we're going to ride it. Right now, we're riding it. Jalen Waddle has not been productive for us. He's not been incorporated into that offense the way that he was last year at this point. And again, I think that's coming. It's going to happen. Maybe this is the week it happens. I don't know. But I'm not going to sit and wait for it. We know what we're getting with Kyren Williams right now. I'm going to ride that hot hand if I have him on my roster. Now, I'm also trying to trade him. If I have him, I'm going to try to sell him. But if I have him and I need to start him, I'm going to start him. I'm going to play Kyren Williams over Jalen Waddle in the flex there. You're right. That's who it was. This is kind of going back to the troll question from Coco. So look at Kenneth. Kenneth is tuning into both shows as well. We appreciate you. I remember him being on last week's show as well. I think we had a trade question that we talked through, and then I think we both had a little regret after the fact. I don't remember what it was, but I appreciate Kenneth tuning into all of our shows as well. So Richard, going back to his question as well, that was a 10-person league. Must be small rosters, though. It must be small rosters, or you're just freaking loaded, in which case you better trade those guys. Trade. All right, let's get to the next tier of running backs here. Let's wrap it up, and then we'll get to the wide receivers. James Conner. James Conner is going to come next. And we're going to put him, I don't know, do you guys think he should be in the same tier, or he's going to be in the bottom tier? I think we should put him in the same tier. I think he belongs with Jones, Kamara, Pacheco. I kind of feel like I want to move Pacheco. I want to leapfrog him. Just sitting here looking at it. I'm going to make the change on the website as well. Right after the show, I'm going to move Pacheco up ahead of Jones. I'm going to actually move Jones behind Kamara, because Kamara came back to a massive target share. Part of that was, one, they were playing the first 3 weeks of freaking Tony Jones. So they were just excited to have some talent in the backfield. But I think a lot of that was also Derek Carr's injury. He couldn't throw the ball down the field as much. He was clearly not right. So I think the check down options to Alvin Kamara was just the obvious way to go. And I think it could be the same thing this week against the Patriots as well. So, but I am going to leapfrog Isaiah Pacheco over those two guys. And then we're going to have James Conner. After James Conner, this is where we get Jonathan Taylor. So before the news came out that Jonathan Taylor was for sure going to be on a snap count, I had him as the RB14. Then I moved him down to the RB18 after that news. Though I was, because, I mean, common sense told us that he wasn't going to be full-blown coming back. And he has a difficult matchup. So I had him a little bit conservative at the RB14. And then I moved him down a little bit more. I feel really comfortable with him as the RB18. But if you want to start him as a higher end RB2, I'm totally fine with that as well. It is a difficult matchup. And he really hasn't practiced. I mean, he practiced this week, but this is a guy who is nursing injuries. He was holding out. He didn't participate in training camp at all. He didn't play in preseason, none of that. So this guy hasn't been on a football field in a long time. So it's hard to have a lot of expectations for what his role is going to be. How much rust is he going to have to knock off? And then the matchup against the Titans' tough run defense on top of that. And what could be a pretty ugly, very low-scoring game. So I think RB18 is a pretty good spot for Jonathan Taylor this week. Then we get to Alexander Mattison. I think we'll move him into this next tier. And actually, talking about Jonathan Taylor just kind of makes me want to move him into this tier actually as well. He's going to lead the D tier, followed by Alexander Mattison. I don't think he's losing his job to Cam Akers at the moment. He's going to hang on to it for now. Then we get to Ramondre Stevenson as my RB20. We'll kind of wrap it up here, and we'll move on to the wide receivers. That way we can get some wide receiver talk as well. You can find my full rankings at yardsforfantasy.com. So that's fine. Ramondre barely cracking the top 20. He's been disappointing, but he just hasn't looked explosive like he did last year. He's not getting the work in the passing game as much as he was last year. It's really not because he's losing any work to Ezekiel Elliott. He's just not playing well. Just not playing well. Patriots offensive line, they've been really injured. Starting a new different group every single week. Here he is right here. It's kind of been mix and match guys in and out of the lineup up front there. So that's been a mess. The whole offense has been a mess. It's really, really tough. It's tough to be a Patriots fan right now. I know no sympathy for Patriots fans because we've had a great run. It's been a great run. I wasn't even watching football the last time the Patriots were bad. So it's been a weird couple of years for me to adjust. Kind of feeling the way the rest of the league has felt at least for stretches over the last 20 years while we've just been sitting back, enjoying it and taking Tom Brady for granted. So unfortunately, those days are long gone. Tank for Caleb, please. They're never going to do it, but please do it. All right. So these are our running backs. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall, David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, Devon Achane. Then we get Raheem Mostert, Joe Mixon, Pacheco, Kamara, Jones, Connor, Jonathan Taylor, Alexander Mattison, and Ramondre Stevenson. I know it's not exactly 20, but when I'm looking at my rankings here, some of the Thursday night guys are mixed in there. The next guy on my list would be Kyron Williams. So he's technically the RB21, would be the 20 for the group that we're looking at here, because I had Brian Robinson ranked in there as well for Thursday Night Football. But obviously, we don't need to talk about that. All right. So now we'll kind of move things over to the wide receivers. If you have any questions, questions, comments, trade questions, whatever we want to talk about, put it in the chat. We'll discuss it. Otherwise, we're going to get to these wide receivers. All right, we got Matt. My guy Matt. He is the engine behind the scenes at Yards for Fantasy. He's the one who gets our trade calculator going every single week. Takes a lot of work off my plate, and he's just like a ball of ideas. He's just got ideas after ideas, and he's a freaking genius. If you ever need any help using Microsoft Excel, this guy knows his stuff on Excel for sure. My league is the worst for trading, Matt says. He's been trying to flip Sam Laporta for Mark Andrews all week long. And if Amon-Ra doesn't go, I think I'm going to have to drop Laporta to pick up a wide receiver replacement. Oh, Matt. I think Sam Laporta. I have him ranked one spot behind Mark Andrews. I think they're both top 5 tight ends this week. Yeah, if you can't trade him, that's tragic. Tragic. Very, very tragic. And you hate to sell him for nothing. Damn. Yeah, that one hurts. That one hurts for sure. All right. Next question. My opponent played DJ Moore. Oof. It's over. It's over. I was very thankful to have DJ Moore in a couple of my lineups this week. Rode out the tough weeks. Finally got a couple good performances and then an elite performance from DJ Moore this week. So you need some big time upside. You need a lot of points. So we're picking 2 wide receivers and a flex between Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Zay Flowers, Christian Watson, Isaiah Pacheco. We're going to pick 2 of these guys. 2 wide receivers and a flex. We're going to pick 3 of these guys. So I think we're going to go Garrett Wilson. I think we got to keep riding Puka Nacua. I know Cooper Kupp's coming back, so that's going to change things for sure. But I think we got to keep riding Puka Nacua until they show us that he's not going to be a significant player in that offense. I think he's going to continue to be a significant player in that offense. So we're going to play Puka. Garrett Wilson and Puka are going to be the 2 wide receivers. In the flex, I'm going to play Isaiah Pacheco. I'm playing Pacheco. We talked about Pacheco a few minutes ago. I love Pacheco. He's been an RB1 in fantasy for each of the last 2 weeks. They really trust Pacheco. They're riding him in the run game. And our concern about Pacheco coming into the season was, he's not going to catch passes because of Jerick McKinnon. Well, not that he is lighting up the box score in the receptions and the targets, but he is out targeting Jerick McKinnon. So he is getting more work in the passing game than we saw from him last year, which is great. That's exciting. So he is borderline full-blown bell cow status at this point. So I'm playing Pacheco. I think we got to still wait and see on Christian Watson. I do expect his role was going to ramp up this week. He's got a good matchup. But I'm totally comfortable waiting and seeing on Christian Watson. Let's give him one more week. Let's see if he can get a full run of routes and opportunities and targets there. So I'm going to go Garrett Wilson and Puka as your 2 wide receivers, and I'm going to play Isaiah Pacheco in the flex. I think that gives us the most upside in our best floor as well. And then we got Michael. Need to fill 1 wide receiver spot. His choices are Nico Collins, Cooper Kupp, and Chris Olave. He's leaning towards Nico. 1 wide receiver. It's a good group here. So Nico is a guy that I was very wrong about. He's been outperforming my expectations. I don't think I'm going to go Nico here, though. I think I'm looking at my rankings. I'm still going Chris Olave. He was top 4, top 5 last week in air yards, and I know most of them were unrealized, but they're still targeting him down the field. He had his lowest target share of the season. I understand that, but it was the first week. The first 3 weeks, he had a target share of at least 30%. So I expect he's going to bounce back to closer to that level. And I know 2 factors for last week's struggle was the return of Alvin Kamara and the injury to the shoulder of Derek Carr. He was just not right. So I'm expecting Derek Carr is going to be closer to 100% this week. And the Patriots just lost their number 1 corner in Christian Gonzalez. He's out probably for the year, at least until December, is what we're hearing. So he's definitely out for this week. They also lost their top pass rusher in Matthew Judon. So that's going to open things up for Chris Olave. But I mean, this is kind of like just like, you know, a rich man problem here. You got a great receiving core. Cooper Kupp is coming back. I think with this group, I'm okay to wait and see if we can only start one of these guys. I'm okay to wait and see on Cooper Kupp. I'm also okay to wait and see on Chris Olave. If you have this group, I'm okay starting Nico Collins. I'm okay with it. I'm going to start Chris Olave, but I'm totally okay playing Nico Collins over these guys because he's been playing well. CJ Stroud's been playing well. They've been throwing the ball a ton. And we can make a case against the other 2. Kupp coming off the hamstring. Olave, you know, with Carr injured. So I'm fine with that. I'm still going Olave. But if you want to go Nico, cannot blame you. I think that's a fine play. Fine play. Absolutely. All right. So let's start firing up these wide receiver rankings, and we'll continue to answer questions in between. So let me reshare the screen to the wide receivers. All right, here we go. All right, so the top of the wide receiver rankings are pretty simple, straightforward, pretty easy to figure out, right? Justin Jefferson is going to be the wide receiver 1, no question about that. Going against the Chiefs, they're going to have to score a lot of points. Anybody see Justin Jefferson? Let's find Justin Jefferson. He's got to be right at the top here, right? Completely missing him. Oh boy, here we go, right here. All right, so Justin Jefferson, no brainer. Wide receiver 1. Let's scroll up and put him in the stud tier. I don't really know what the S stands for, but for me, I call it the stud tier. Justin Jefferson is a stud, and so is Tyreek Hill. I think this is going to be a 2-man tier. I think we did the same thing last week. We went Jefferson. We went Tyreek Hill. Let's find Tyreek. Well, I don't see Tyreek. So we'll keep talking as we look. Tyreek Hill going against the Giants. I mean, it really doesn't matter the matchup at this point. Tyreek, obviously, easy top 2 wide receiver. Here he is, all the way at the bottom. From the bottom to the top. Here we go. This is a struggle. I wish this was a little bit simpler, but that's all right. So after Tyreek Hill, I think we'll start a new tier with Devontae Adams as the wide receiver 3. He's getting Garoppolo back. He's going against his old team for the first time, so that's kind of cool. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, Devontae Adams, wide receiver 3. After that, Stephon Diggs. You can make an easy argument. You could absolutely argue that Stephon Diggs should be the wide receiver 3, and maybe he should be. Maybe we make that change right now. What do you guys think? You guys think that we should put Stephon Diggs ahead of Devontae Adams as the wide receiver 3? I'm kind of leaning that way, to be honest. First, we got to find Stephon Diggs in this mass of random wide receivers. Some of these guys are double on this list too, which makes it more difficult. Maybe he's at the bottom, there he is. All right, so we got Diggs. I think we're gonna make the move. I think we're gonna make Diggs the wide receiver 3. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. And I'm also making the move on the website as we speak. That'll publish at yardsperfantasy.com right after we end the live. I'll hit the publish button here. All right. So then we get wide receiver 5. That's going to be A.J. Brown. I think he belongs in the same tier as these guys. A.J. Brown going against the Rams. Not a great defense. He's kind of hit or miss every week. He's a guy who can win you a week. And he's a guy who can put up, 5 points in a week. He's kind of volatile, but sometimes you just got to embrace the volatility and hope for those week-winning weeks. After that, it's Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is another guy. I talked about him during the week this week. We can buy low on Jamar Chase right now. I'm buying low on Jamar Chase. I know it's not like, you're paying, you're going to give up freaking, I don't know, Gabe Davis for Jamar Chase. It's not buy low like that, but buy low compared to where his price was, at the beginning of the year and where I think it will be by the end of the year. You're not having to pay the typical Jamar Chase premium to get him right now. You're still going to pay up, but he's much more attainable right now than he's been in years, probably since midway through his rookie season. So if you can go get Jamar Chase, buy him at a little bit of a discount, I'd be doing that. Absolutely. Because I think eventually we're going to get Joe Burrow back to health, Joe Burrow back to being Joe Burrow, Bengals offense back to being the Bengals offense. And in the meantime, they're feeding Jamar Chase. They're going to have no T. Higgins for probably multiple weeks. He's going to be out this week for sure. I think they're going to be without him for multiple weeks. So right now, if Jamar Chase is just a target compiler, if he's just Amon-Ra St. Brown right now, then I think we got to be okay with that. Amon-Ra St. Brown's a pretty damn good receiver for fantasy. He's just compiling catches. And I think Jamar Chase can be that guy right now until Joe Burrow gets back fully healthy and he unlocks the ceiling again where he can hit him on those 30, 40, 50-yard bombs down the field and score more touchdowns. Jamar Chase leads the NFL right now in most targets without scoring a touchdown. So I think we can only go up from here on Jamar Chase. So if you can buy him low, I think you do it. So as you can see on the screen, we have CeeDee Lamb as the wide receiver 7. And then I think we're going right. I know I said a few minutes ago we can talk about Cooper Kupp. Maybe we wait and see. Maybe we give him a week to get back to full health. But I'm going to play him. And I think I was wrong when I talked to the last question we had about Cooper Kupp and Nico Collins and Chris Olave. I was looking at my rankings and I didn't see Kupp there as high as I have him. I actually have him ahead of Olave. So I've been playing Kupp there. But either way, we're going to Cooper Kupp as the wide receiver 8. I'm going to start a new tier here just because of the uncertainty with how much he's going to play coming off the injury. He did have some full practices this week. I think he's good to go, but he hasn't practiced in a month before this week. He hasn't played at all this year. So, and Puka Nacua is not going to go away right away, at least. And then at wide receiver 9, we're going to go Jalen Waddle. And maybe it's time to start moving Jalen Waddle down these rankings, but I'm going to give him one more week. He was coming off the injury last week. He's been kind of banged up throughout the year. I think this is probably the healthiest he's been so far in 2023. Got a good matchup against the Giants. And like we were talking about with Raheem Mostert earlier, even though Raheem Mostert is losing opportunities to Devon Achane, just like that, Jalen Waddle is losing opportunities to Tyreek Hill. but we still want pieces of this Dolphins offense. We want explosive, talented players who have a role in this Dolphins offense. I know it hasn't been what we're used to seeing from Jalen Waddle to this point, but we need to keep rolling Jalen Waddle out there. So we're going to put him, once I can find him. I think he's pretty easy one to find on this list if I remember from last week. Maybe I'm lying. Here he is right here. Oh, he's also up here too. We got 2 Jalen Waddles. Imagine 2 Jalen Waddles. They pretty much have 2 Jalen Waddles, actually. All right. So Jalen Waddle comes in as the wide receiver 9. We'll do one more, and then we'll start taking some more questions if you have them. Wide receiver 10, Chris Olave. We talked about Olave for a few minutes already. So he rounds out the top 10. All right. Luca in the chat is asking, should I trade Aaron Jones for James Conner and either Josh Palmer or Chris Godwin? Should I trade Aaron Jones for Conner plus one of those wide receivers? Yes, absolutely. Because I think at this point, Aaron Jones and James Conner are essentially equal. I might even lean James Conner in most cases for a season long. But either way, they're neck and neck. They're neck and neck. And then you're also going to get a wide receiver on top of it. Yeah, absolutely. And a good wide receiver, not just like a low end guy. You're going to get a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3 on top of it. Now, if I can choose between Josh Palmer or Chris Godwin, I'm still going to go Chris Godwin. I'm going Chris Godwin. They're on a bye this week. But coming off the bye, we may, depending on the severity of the hamstring injury from Mike Evans, we may get a couple weeks with Chris Godwin by himself in that wide receiver corps. And he's going to have a massive target share if that happens. But either way, I'm going to take Godwin over Palmer, and I'm definitely taking this deal. Absolutely. All right. Should I start Calvin Ridley or Marquise Brown? I'm going to go Calvin Ridley. I'm still going Ridley here. Ridley's been pretty much what I told you he was going to be this year. Sorry, not sorry. You're welcome. We weren't drafting him. I talked about him all summer long. His ADP was too damn high. It got to the back end of the second round by the end of the summer. Too many training camp highlights, too much hype, too much looking back at freaking 2020, 3 years ago. Last time this guy put up a productive season. He's 29 years old. And we were expecting him to come in and just take over this wide receiver core, outplay like significantly Christian Kirk, just kick Christian Kirk to the side, just kick Zay Jones to the side, just kick Evan Ingram to the side. He's not that type of guy. He's not an alpha. He's not an alpha. He's not. He's not. And he's showing you that right now. He's still a good wide receiver, though. So we're going to play him over Hollywood Brown. I'm still doing that. So, but we'll get to Ridley where I have him ranked in a couple minutes. He's probably coming up here in my rankings. What do we got? What do we got? We got Tank Dell. Now I'm still playing Pacheco over Tank Dell from that question earlier. All right. So Michael agrees with me. Luca, make that trade. Definitely make that trade. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with everything Michael says. All right, let's get to more wide receivers. All right, so we've ranked to the top 10 so far. We're going to do 10 more. Brandon Ayuk is going to come in at wide receiver 11. Brandon Ayuk has been fantastic. Fantastic. Going against a tough Cowboys defense, but it's not quite as tough as it would have been a couple of weeks ago with Javon Diggs out. So that helps open things up for Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk has been operating as the wide receiver 1 in that 49ers offense. Debo's been banged up. He's just a different player than Brandon Ayuk. They played 2 completely different roles, completely different styles. Brandon Ayuk is more of your traditional wide receiver who's going to command targets, who's going to make plays down the field, where Deebo Samuel is the guy who's going to take jet sweeps. He's going to get screen passes. He's going to get those quick underneath routes and be a beast after the catch. And I think I would prefer the type of wide receiver that Brandon Ayuk is if I'm building a team. I want a guy who's going to make the plays down the field. So I'm putting him as my wide receiver 11. After that, it's going to be Devontae Smith. I was going to say Devon Achane. Devontae Smith. I think he's in that same tier, which actually I think we should be starting a new tier here. Brandon Ayuk, we'll start a new tier as a wide receiver 11. Devontae Smith as a wide receiver 12. And after that, it's Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman has been really good this year. I know last week was a little bit of a down week for him, but he's been commanding targets and he's making plays down the field. That's something that I think we'll start to see more and more and more of, but it's something that we really haven't seen from him the last couple of years because his quarterbacks have been noodle arms. It's been Matt Ryan, who was toast, couldn't throw the ball down the field anymore, and couldn't stand upright in the pocket for long enough to let him get down the field anyway. And then I can't even remember the other guy's name who was playing quarterback for them last year. Remind me, who was that quarterback? Damn it. He was a rookie. He was really bad. Ellinger, Sam Ellinger. We got it. Sam Ellinger. He was even worse. I mean, what do we expect from Michael Pittman? So now he's got 2 competent quarterbacks. I know Anthony Richardson's had his struggles a little bit as a passer. Completion percentage wasn't good last week. Gardner Minshew is just a backup, but he's a quality backup. I think he's better than anything that Pittman had to play with last year. So I think Pittman's going to continue to be a borderline wide receiver 1, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 every single week. And I probably should have been looking for him while we were discussing, but I wasn't. Where is he? Michael Pittman. Well, while we're looking for Michael Pittman, we're also going to look for Christian Kirk, who is my wide receiver 14 for the week. And he's been outplaying, out-targeting, out-producing not Christian Kirk. He is Christian Kirk. Outperforming Calvin Ridley. And we touched on that a minute ago. We'll talk about a little bit more again. So back in the summer, I made a video saying that I still believed that despite the presence of Calvin Ridley in that offense now, I still thought Christian Kirk was still going to lead the Jaguars in targets. I got laughed at when I posted those videos. The comments were killing me. And that was in the summer. And then after what Calvin Ridley did in week 1, they came back to that video and they were trashing me even more. Since then, I've just been sitting back, just watching the magic happen as Christian Kirk has been outperforming Calvin Ridley week in, week out, just as we predicted. It's a lot of fun to be right, especially in a business like fantasy football where it is literally impossible to be right 100% of the time. So you get things wrong constantly, and that's a weird thing. That's a weird thing to work so hard at something like this and to put as much time and effort and energy and thought into these takes and then to get, 40% of them wrong at best or at worst, whatever, however you want to say it. It's a weird thing. So when you get things right, it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun, especially when you're getting trolled in the comments about the take. And then you can go back and just look at those old comments and just laugh. Just laugh. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Deebo Samuel comes in at my wide receiver 15. We've already talked about him, so we don't really need to go into depth with that. I think we'll go in the D tier here with Deebo Samuel. Let's get this question from Teabag. Do you think taking high risk, high reward on Jake Ferguson is worth it this week? Or should I just play it safe and go with Ingram? I don't think Jake Ferguson qualifies as a high reward type of player. I don't think he's capable of giving you a high reward. Although I say that with, I believe he was like a top 2 or top 3 tight end at one point this year. So he did have that week for you, but I think Evan Ingram is your safe play, but I think his ceiling is actually higher than Jake Ferguson because he's just more athletic. He's more explosive. He can give you, Evan Ingram is a guy who can catch a ball and be like a wide receiver after it and rip it for 20, 25 yards after the catch. Jake Ferguson's not that guy. Jake Ferguson is not that guy. And I know Ingram has more target competition for sure. And might be in a worse offense. I think they're pretty Jaguars, Cowboys, probably pretty equal offenses. But I don't think Jake Ferguson's ceiling is higher than Evan Ingram's ceiling. And I don't think Jake Ferguson's floor is as high as Evan Ingram's floor. So Ingram easily for me between those two. Anybody disagree with that in the chat? Let me know. Let me know. Do you think Ferguson has a higher ceiling than Evan Ingram? Am I crazy for disagreeing? Let me know. Moving on. Wide receiver 16 is Garrett Wilson. We had a little bit of signs of life from Zach Wilson last week. A little bit of signs of life. He played like a quality quarterback. And I saw somebody say on Twitter, I can't remember who it was. I'd love to give them credit for it because it was hilarious. It might have been JJ Zacharyson. Might have been. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. But somebody on Twitter said something to the effect of, because of all the Taylor Swift fans tuning in to see Travis Kelce and to see the camera go to Taylor Swift every 5 minutes, watching the game there. Taylor Swift fans who had no idea anything about football, who were just there to see Taylor Swift. They were just watching that game because Taylor Swift was involved. And to watch Travis Kelce, learn who he is. Taylor Swift fans walked away from that Jets Chiefs game last week 100% convinced that Zach Wilson is a far better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. And that is just the most hilarious thing to think about because it couldn't be further from being wrong. But that's kind of how it played out last week. And I know Patrick Mahomes wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good. He wasn't very good. I think he turned the ball over multiple times, if I remember. And Zach Wilson looked really, really good for most of that game. He was moving the ball up and down the field. He was playing with confidence. He was targeting Garrett Wilson, which we love to see. Yeah, Taylor Swift fans are probably buying Zach Wilson jerseys right now, thinking he's the better quarterback. That's really funny to think about. So Garrett Wilson's a wide receiver 16. Then we got Puka Nacua. So I know Cooper Kupp is coming back. Now, if I remember correctly from doing these rankings last week, Puka Nacua is actually not available to choose from these wide receivers. So we're not going to be able to put him on the screen, but that's okay. We know he's there. He's there in spirit. But even with Cooper Kupp coming back, I'm still starting Puka Nacua as a wide receiver 2 until further notice. Until he shows us that he's not going to command volume, he might be a little bit more volatile than he's been to this point. But there's no way that the way he has performed to this point in the season, there's no way that he is just going to take a backseat to Cooper Kupp just because Cooper Kupp's coming back. Even Cooper Kupp, the great Cooper Kupp, we worship Cooper Kupp. But Puka Nacua I don't think he's going away anytime soon. So they're going to keep him involved. They're going to keep targeting him. Obviously, it's not going to be the same as what we've gotten through the first month now that Cooper Kupp is back. But Puka Nacua needs to be in your top 24 until further notice. Until he proves us that he's not, he's got to be there. And we got Nico Collins. Nico Collins has been absolutely outperforming my expectations for him coming into this year. He really has. He really has. And I think a lot of that has been because CJ Stroud has come in and just been, he looks like he's played in the NFL for 10 years. He looks like he's one of the better quarterbacks in the entire NFL just from stepping onto an NFL field for the first time. He's looked so good. He's been playing really well. And the coaching staff, give credit to them and for just saying, we got a rookie quarterback where we know he is mentally strong. We know he's talented. We know he can handle whatever we're throwing at him out there. We're just going to let him fucking play. We're going to let him play. We're not going to hold him back. We're not going to put him in a box. We're not going to play scared with him like these other teams do with their rookie quarterbacks. And a lot of that is credit to CJ Stroud for being as talented as he's been and to showing them. He obviously had to show them throughout preseason and training camp practices that he can be trusted to be that guy, but they trusted him. They trusted him. So that gives me a lot of hope that the Houston Texans hired a competent coaching staff for the first time in a long time, maybe the first time ever. So that's cool to see. So Nico Collins has been outperforming because of that, outperforming my expectations at least. And I think anybody, even Nico Collins truthers, even people who love Nico Collins, are probably surprised with how well he has played early this year. So then we get to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is my wide receiver 19. Like I said, I told you not to draft him as high as he was being drafted. Great pick in the 6th round. That's what I kept saying. Great pick in the 6th round. He was never going to get there, but if he did, great pick there. That's where he should have been. He's still a low-end wide receiver 2, mid wide receiver 2. So nothing wrong with that, but he was being drafted as a wide receiver 1. That's what I had a problem with. So we're still playing Calvin Ridley. He's been really close to having some good games over the last couple of weeks. He's still involved in that offense. He's still a quality wide receiver. Just not as good as Christian Kirk. That's all. So he's your wide receiver 19. And then we'll wrap it up with Terry McLaurin. Actually, Terry McLaurin's already played. He was my wide receiver 20. So let's, that gives us, so McLaurin was my wide receiver 20. DJ Moore was my wide receiver 21. Obviously, we saw how that played out. DJ Moore very likely is going to end the week as the wide receiver 1. Terry McLaurin was a complete dust ball. But that was in large part thanks to Sam Howell not being a very good quarterback. So putting the Thursday night guys aside, Zay Flowers moves into the wide receiver 20 slot here. And he's got to be on this list somewhere, right? He's got to be on here. He's got to be because we got Tank Dell on here. Rashee Rice is on here. So yeah, we got rookies on this list here. Where is Zay Flowers. There he is, right here. Oh, look at that. We got 2 Zay Flowers right there, 2 in a row. All right, so Zay Flowers caps it off. He's the wide receiver 20. So let's recap. We got easy top two guys in the top tier: Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. Then it's Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb for the second tier. Third tier comes in a Cooper Kupp, Jalen Wall, kind of like the we still have faith tier. You know, we gotta have faith in these guys. Cooper Kupp coming off the injury. Jalen Waddle hasn't really performed yet. Chris Olave, we don't know what's going on with Derek Carr, his injuries and all that. Then we move on to the fourth tier of Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, and Christian Kirk. And we wrap it up with Deebo Samuel, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins, Calvin Ridley, and Zay Flowers. So you can see the rest of my rankings, my quarterbacks, my tight ends, my full running backs, full wide receivers at yardsperfantasy.com. We'll see if we can bang out a couple more questions here if you have them, and then we'll get out of here. We will absolutely be back tomorrow at 12:15 answering start-sit questions all the way up to kickoff. We're not going to do any of these other, stuff. We're not going to be going through rankings and stuff. We're just answering questions. We'll be live on TikTok for Yards Per Fantasy and the Yards Per Fantasy YouTube channel. So make sure you're there at 12:15 with your most difficult start-sit questions. But if you're here now, you might as well ask them because we're going to get through those for a couple of minutes. Appreciate you, Michael. I know I've seen you in these chats before. I appreciate you tuning in. And yes, Matt, don't forget to jump in the Discord. The Discord has been starting to grow a little bit. So we got some people in there helping you answer questions. So in the off hours, when we're not live, you can ask us questions in there. I'm jumping in and jumping out of there all the time, answering questions. And then we've got Matt, who's in Australia. So if you have a question at 3 a.m., Matt is awake and alert and ready to answer. So jump in there and ask away any time of the day. We'll get in there and answer it for you. You can find the link to that on the Yards Per Fantasy website. You just scroll to the bottom of the website. Bottom right, there's all of our social media and our Discord links. It's also in the menu, I believe. And it's on the app. All right. So I think that's it for questions. If we don't have any more questions, we'll get out of here. 12